What do you want? Like and subscribe.
What is up, guys? Today we get to talk about my favorite topic in gaming, boss fights, specifically the ones in Silksong. This video will be two parts. First, I'm going to go over all the bosses we've been shown so far, and try to guess where in the game they will be. Then we will discuss how fights have changed, and the new and returning boss fight mechanics. Quick note, I won't be discussing mini-boss type enemies like the Bone Creature or the Fluke Dab. So far in Silksong, we have seen a total of 10 confirmed bosses, and then 4 that may or may not be boss fights. First up, we have Moss Mother, who's basically a Gru's mother with a slightly different moveset. I played the demo back when it was available at PAX, and this was an extremely easy fight for anyone with some Hollow Knight experience. She will most certainly be one of the first, if not the very first boss in the main game. I'm expecting a scenario where there are at least a couple of first bosses available, kind of like how you can fight Gru's Mother, False Knight, or Broody Malik as your first boss. Then we've got Lace, who is a confirmed rival battle, and we know we will face at least twice. And she was around the level of like Lost Kin or Hornet 2, maybe a little easier in the demo. I love the whole fencing gig she has going, and can't wait to see what rounds 2 and maybe even more are like. Carmelita is the Ant Queen, and we seem to fight her in an arena-like area. I think the Forest of Bones where she's located will be the first big major area, so we will probably fight her towards the end of the early game. The other bosses in this area are the Last Judge and the unnamed giant mechanical ant. Now this is silly, but they could be one and the same, and the Judge is inside the robot. Or the Judge replaced that fight because maybe it wasn't working properly. I don't know, they seem like different fights, both happening in the Forest of Bones, so only time will tell. These are probably both fights in the first third of the game. We barely have anything on Trobio, except that apparently he's a master of the stage and the brush. We will most likely fight him in whatever the City of Tears equivalent is, but before reaching the Citadel, so probably the first half of the game as well. The Bell Beast is probably one of the first bosses you will fight, and you will fight it multiple times before it becomes your fast travel companion, at least according to the info we got in the Edge magazine. The first time you defeat this creature, it is apparently the test to see if you're ready for the wider world. Kind of like how the Hornet Protector fight opens up Hollow Knight for you. We also see this crustacean-like boss, which you have almost nothing about. Gives me Dung Defender vibes though, and he seems to be living in some sort of water or aquatic palace area. Seth is one of my favorite looking bosses. I especially love how he throws the shield around like Captain America. If you don't know, Seth is an NPC and boss created by a fan of Team Cherry who unfortunately passed away recently. I love that Team Cherry took the time to meet and engage with this fan, and I'm super excited to see this awesome Bud character come to life. Finally, we have Steel Assassin Sharp, and technically 2 other bosses that are yet unnamed. Sharp is another rival battle. Usually rival battles mean bosses you encounter multiple times in a game like Virgil and Devil May Cry, so we will probably fight him more than once. But we don't know much about Sharp, except that he was tasked with hunting Hornet down, and that we will be fighting for our life against this highly trained trio. To me, I see it as 2 or 3 fights. We will first fight Sharp by himself, then meet the other 2 assassins, this crab guy during this kind of chase-like sequence from Ori, as well as this unrevealed mini Soulmaster looking guy. So it will probably be, we meet each of them separately, Sharp in his fight, the crab in the chase sequence, and the other one in a similar fashion, and then we fight for our life against this highly trained trio in a late game tag team fight. This is all just speculation. What are your guys' thoughts on the Steel Assassins? Comment below and let me know. Before we go on, I wanted to put in a personal plug for an upcoming game to Kickstarter, Bow Path of the Teal Lotus. I actually did an interview with the developer, which you can watch here, where I learned a lot about this Metroidvania they are creating, and it got me really excited to back this one. Their inspirations are some of my favorite games like Ori, Celeste, Okami, and of course Hollow Knight. Please consider watching this interview and visiting their Kickstarter page yourself to see if you would be interested in supporting this fluid and beautiful looking Metroidvania. Now for the not confirmed bosses, in the last blog post Team Cherry will ever do, all the way back in December of 2019, we got to look at enemies number 163, 164, and 165. At first I thought this was going to be an optional boss in one of the optional backer designed dungeons, but then I got to thinking, Sisters of Battle / Mantis Lords is the only trio fight in the game, and they don't get 3 separate journal entries. So this is probably just the enemies of whatever scholarly type ancient vault dungeon they are in. It may end up being a mid-boss like the Soul Warrior was in Soul Sanctum, but who knows. And finally, there is this guy who seems to be part of the Bell cult organization that we fight in the Citadel. This isn't a confirmed boss, but it looks kind of like a large arena that we fight in, and to be honest, when I first saw this footage, I thought of Honor Londo and the ONS fight from Dark Souls 1. I don't know, this may or may not be a boss. What do you guys think? Bosses in Silksong are going to be more complex than in Hollow Knight, but that doesn't necessarily mean harder. Team Cherry already stated that they want this game to be available to players that have not played Hollow Knight, so it'll have an easier start. You see, bosses like Lace and the Bell Beast, and even some enemies, can do 2 masks of damage in some of their attacks pretty early in the game. Lace has a thrust attack, which will do double damage if you get caught in it. In Hollow Knight, double damage was mostly reserved for endgame content. And then of course the bats. Lace 1 seems to be an early fight, so I would not be surprised at all to see 3 mask damage attacks, and maybe even more by endgame. Sounds like it will be tougher, right? Well, because Hornet heals almost instantly, and for 3 masks to start, this means double damage won't be that much of a deal. William says the state of the player will constantly be either full health or low health without much in between, but I'm sure there will be crests and tools that let you heal more health, or maybe even crests that lessen extra damage. I think most if not all of the bosses we've seen are from the first half of the game, and I bet the second fight with Lace is near the entrance to the Citadel itself. As for speculation on what we can expect in late game boss encounters, that's for another video, so look out for that one. It seems like we'll be getting a lot more refights than the last game, with Lace, Sharp, and probably Bell Beast pretty much all confirmed for multiple encounters. I love this, to be honest. Seeing enemies grow and evolve and becoming stronger alongside you as you constantly clash is an awesome feeling. And the dual bosses, like Hornet Sentinel, Lostkin, Al from Sekiro, and Maria from Bloodborne, are my favorite types of bosses, so Lace, Sharp, and Seth are all high on my anticipated list. What are your guys' thoughts on the bosses of Silksong? Do you like what we've seen so far? Does it look too easy or too hard? I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and maybe it makes the wait for Silksong a little easier. As always, like, subscribe, or don't, but I love you guys anyways.